Morning, JK. How are you doing?
Morning, Blades. I'm good. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you. We've got. First of all, let me say good function on Friday. You spoke very well. Call it as I see it. Eh? Going well.
Call it like it is. It's going really well, Blades. We've gone to reprint after 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's very cool for me that the public has received the book as well as they have, and I think the publishers are really interested in numbers. But for me, I'm really enjoying the feedback of each individual who actually enjoys the pages and the storyline.
Good.
That's
fantastic. Okay, let's go right away into the weekend. First of all, England All Blacks. Was there any points that just sprung to mind? I thought the All Blacks were tremendous.
Yeah, I think I knew the All Blacks would get better as the series progressed, but I must say, after the first couple of tests, it was conceivable that England could test them again, because I thought they did really well. They were very stiff in a couple of the games, and I've pointed out some of the decisions where I felt that they weren't well treated. But in this particular game, I thought the referee, Jerome Garces, did exceptionally well. And, there are a couple of things where these Northern Hemisphere referees are not, they're not really up to speed with some of the tactics of the Southern Hemisphere countries. But having said that, I thought his feel for the game was excellent, and I thought the All Blacks were deserving winners. There was a yellow card issued to an England player at a critical stage in the game, the English eighth man, which had a profound influence on the game at that stage. And it was a tough decision. It was possibly a penalty, but certainly, in my opinion, the yellow card was way too tough a sanction. So that is the one blot on his copybook, and I think that particular sanction, if we would have had a system of challenge, I'm almost sure that the coaches or the captain would have challenged that particular decision, because it was not a good decision.
Just jog my memory. What was the decision? What was the infringement?
It was a dangerous tackle, like a high tackle. So it was around above the shoulder line of Aaron Cruden.
By the outside centre.
Yes.
Was it the number 8 or the outside centre? I thought it was the outside centre.
Sorry, I think you could be right, Blades.
Yeah.
You could be right.
No, I mean, I thought that was, to get a yellow card for that. Although, you see, I think the commentators, quite an interesting point. Justin Marshall said it wasn't malicious. Now, there's nothing in the law book that there's no word malicious in the law book. Either it is a high tackle or not, or isn't a high tackle.
Yes, that's correct, Blades, but it's not
dangerous.
Always a yellow card. So you've got to look and say, was this tackle particularly dangerous?
Yeah.
Was there, when you look, we do look at intent and we do look at malicious, but that often we don't look at whether the player was badly injured, moderately injured, a little bit injured. You just look at the particular picture that unfolds in front of you. And I think most rugby people that have played at that level understand that these type of things happen, but that certainly wasn't worthy of a yellow card.
Okay, agreed. So we've got a tick for the French referee there. Now, of course, the big question. Was the Welsh try a try?
Blade, I wouldn't have given it, either as a TMO or on the field. I actually think that he didn't retain possession of it, and that he didn't have consistently his hand on the ball. So I think it was a tough call against South Africa, and I wouldn't have given it.
Okay, can I ask you for my own edification, and I reckon I'm pretty up to date with the laws. The guy, if for instance, the guy this is what happened. The guy went for the line, and he had control of the ball, and he fell short. And as he was falling short, he looked like he had lost control of the ball, but not contact of the ball. That's what it looked like to me. And then
what the law says is that you can if you're short of the line, if momentum takes you to a place where you're short of the line, you may then place the ball over the try line. For me, this guy wasn't even placing the ball over the try line. He was rolling it over the try line, rolling it towards the try line.
Yeah.
So yes, he hasn't lost perhaps,
touch.
I mean,
he hasn't lost touch with the ball.
Yes, perhaps he hasn't lost touch with the ball, but he's not placing it.
Yeah.
He's actually rolling it, and I'm not in agreement that should have been a try. I think if the player is over the try line and he does that, retaining possession or retaining contact with the ball, he doesn't have to put downward pressure, just has to retain contact with the ball, then we would give a try. But in the instance where it happens just before the try line, he actually has to place the ball. And in this particular case, it cannot be argued that he placed the ball.
Okay. So yet again, we have a problem with the TMO.
We have a problem with the TMO, but also the referee took charge of that particular situation. So I have a problem with the referee's decision. Yeah. I don't think the TMO can guide the referee, but ultimately the buck stops with the ref. So, and he wanted to make the decision, as you heard quite clearly, like he wanted to see it in real time.
Yeah.
So he made the decision, and for me, it's not a good decision.
Okay. So in other words, we assume that the two penalty tries that the Springboks got were correct decisions?
Well, I'll take you through each of them. So First of all, there's a penalty against Luke Charteris and the yellow card for collapsing the maul. So clearly, the Welsh have not been able to adequately deal with the Bok maul formation and the subsequent drive, and so they've resorted to alternative means to try and stop it. The referee's taken action and given a yellow card. Later on in the game, we get another penalty and kick it out and then more towards the line. And I do think in this particular case, the referee was correct. If you watch the actions of the number 10, he's actually just thrown himself at the feet of a maul that has already gone 15 meters and is pretty much headed toward the try line.
Yeah.
Most of the Welsh, if there were a lot of Welsh players that were actually fronting up and sort of defending well, then I'd say perhaps just a penalty and or a yellow card. But in this particular case, I think the refs got it right. The Welsh defence was all over the place, and it's looking likely that try would probably have been scored.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think I'm not sure that the Welsh have complained about that at all. And I think in your opinion, and I confirm most people's opinion, think that the referee was correct. I have made the point this morning, JK, that in years gone by, that tackle on Cornell Hendricks would have been lauded as a match-saving, wonderful tackle.
Totally agree with you. There's no question in my mind that in the past that would have been a fantastic tackle, and it would have been glorified, I'm sure, in the press.
Yeah,
but nowadays it's a whole lot different.
Yeah.
And there's a strong accent on player safety, and in this particular case, I do feel once again that the referee has got it. It's a sad way to end the game, but really speaking, if he doesn't make the right decision there, just because it happens to come at the end of the game, that's the worst outcome possible.
Yeah.
So I think remember what I told you a couple of weeks ago, that I think the referees are first and foremost addressing their main customers, which are the players on the field. I think in this case, the referee has actually done very well to explain to the captain what he was thinking, because clearly it's the last play of the game, and then gone at length to try and almost highlight to the public in a way what his thinking was in giving this decision. And I'm sure that the referee didn't want the game to be decided like that, but like I said, he really didn't have an option. How the law is worded is, but not for the action of that player, would it try most probably have been scored. So the way we look at it is that, but not for that action. So the player chose that action. It was illegal, but not for that action. Would it try most probably? You would have liked to think that, but that Cornell would have been able to lean over the lunge over the try line, and just with normal skill sets, at that level be able to plant the ball as you had beaten the other player already. Then there's a counter-argument, Blade, that says that, but what happens if the player had been tackled illegally? Well, that's the hypothetical, and we don't work in the hypothetical. The player chose the action that he chose, which was to use his shoulder as opposed to the legal option. And so you can actually discount him as a potential defender because he can only choose one vehicle to defend, and he's chosen the illegal one. So I'm totally in agreement with the referee, and I have a great deal of sympathy for the fact that he had to make this decision at the end of the game. But once again, it is the correct decision, and and I've got to give him credit for not only making the right decision, but making a very strong effort to try and explain it very clearly for all the major stakeholders.
Yeah, and it was. I haven't read the article, but I saw in one of the rugby websites that Warren Gatland had agreed that the decision was correct.
Yes.
Which I think, is a sporting gesture, and Warren Gatland is a really good sportsman, I believe, and has come out in support of the referee.
Blades, he's one of my favourite coaches that I've ever been around. He's a really nice bloke, and very knowledgeable and yet very humble. You can see that his teams really play for him, and he's one of these guys that tries not to get too emotional after the game. Even during the game, you can see the different types of reactions to emotional people like Heineke versus Gatland.
Yeah,
And I do have to. I agree with you, and I think he needs to get a lot of credit for not making a whole song and a dance about it. And there's other times where Wales have come close against Southern Hemisphere opposition, and he has always resisted the temptation to go to town and start the blame game. So lots of credit to Gatland. I'm not sure that our sort of press and the like would have been as forgiving.
Yeah, sure. Quite interesting, JK. I was telling our listeners and viewers that on the Friday I have a mate who phones, and he's an avid better on the points margins and that sort of thing. And I got it pretty. I must pat myself on the back, blow smoke up, whatever. I said to him on Friday, I said, I don't think the Springboks will run away with this game. I think Wales will come back, and I think Willie le Roux won't have the blinder that he had in Durban, or is unlikely to have a blinder like he had in Durban again. And I said, I don't think the Springboks will actually run away with it. Then we got into studio, and then some of my mates in studio said, we'll walk this game. What did you think of the game?
I think we were exceptionally lucky to win this game. I think the Wales showed that they can actually defend well, that they can dominate most of the collisions, that they can play decent rugby, and that they can expose our defensive frailties. I don't think we went in overconfident or anything like that. I mean, I think these guys are professional rugby players, and the coaching staff are very professional, and I think they would have been very well prepared, and we would have had another week under our belts to gel as a team. I just think, Wales got caught on the back foot last week, and perhaps they didn't really know about the prowess of Willie le Roux, who had one of the most sublime performances that one can hope for in a Springbok jersey, actually in any international jersey.
Yeah.
And I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think Wales had a point to prove. And I think that Willie le Roux will find it increasingly difficult, to have that type of space with top-class opposition.
There's no question now, he's going to become a marked man. And I was making the point because there was another headline in the rugby world this weekend saying Handré Pollard awaiting greatness or something. That's not the exact correct words, but it was something like that. And I made the point that, greatness comes with a number of years as a really great player. when people have analyzed you, can you kick with the left? Can you kick with the right? Can you kick with either foot? You know, how quick are you? Do you run off your right foot, off your left foot? And greatness does come from being able to handle that sort of pressure.
Yeah, greatness, you hit the nail on the head, Bates. So I think of it exactly the same way as you do. Greatness comes with time, first and foremost. And then secondly, you have to bring something to the party that's very few other players have brought. So, for example, you know, Zinzan Brook, as an example, will always have some sort of special, special status attached to him as a rugby player because he thought outside the box. He almost did things outside the box. And yes, he's not going to be the most captained. You know, there's other 8 men like Sergio Parisi and Lawrence Delalia and Kieran Reid that are really, really very good players. But I think, you know, people always remember that special X factor, that different quality that a bloke like Zinzan brought to the table.
Yeah, sure. Who was your number 8?
And just one other thing, Blades. You know, we're speaking about Willie Leroux, and I wanted to make this point earlier. You know, I hope that he kicks on and gets even better and better, and there is that possibility. But you know, I don't know if you remember, but Bob Skinstead, when he came onto the scene, he played off the bench a lot, and he really was fantastic in his first 15-odd test matches.
Yeah.
Once people realized that he's actually got a very strong skill set, very good ball skills, they didn't give him as much space as they used to, and I think he had to reinvent himself in a way to be able to compete at that level.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, so that's one of the careers that, I mean, all rugby followers can watch with great interest. Will Willie Leroux become basically South Africa's main strike power? Because frankly, without him creating 3 tries the first test, scoring one in each test, and then the long pass out to Cornell Hendricks that led to the penalty try, there's not much else going on in terms of attacking flair.
Correct. And I just want to remind people that Willie Leroux was struggling a little bit to make a name for himself. And, you know, he had to start off at a smaller union like Boland, and he had to be recognized by Harvey, you know, the Free State assistant coach, the backline coach, and be given that opportunity to then go to a bigger union. And that's I think, sometimes what we're missing. I think sometimes there are players out there that just need the toughening up. They need that exposure, but we need them.
Yeah.
You know, this predominance, this obsession with size. You know, I think it's very important. It is a big man's game, but we do need skillful players, the like of Willie Leroux, and perhaps even guys like Fourie du Preez, because you can see how much what an intellect he is on the field, how clever he is, and how good his skill set is.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like we struggle when we don't have you know, his decision making at the base of the tackle, post tackle, ruck situation.
Well, I can tell you that according to Nick Mallett, Fourie du Preez is the best scrum half he's ever seen. Including Joost. Well, you know, no, the best Springbok scrum half he's ever seen.
Oh, I see. Look, I was a big fan of Joost. I think Joost had a different type of game to Fourie du Preez. You know, he was a fantastic try-scoring scrum half who had a physical presence about him. And I don't know. I mean, Blades, you and I will remember this, but perhaps not some of the other people. But if you go to the '95 World Cup, a lot of the people that were stopping Lomu were the likes of Ruben Kruger and Joost van der Westhuizen more than anybody else.
Yeah.
So, you know, he had a physicality to his game, and I will always hold him in very high regard.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, there's no question. I think Nick Mallett just made the point, and we've got to conclude now, is that Fourie du Preez has had a better kicking game.
No question.
Yeah.
I think tactically, Joost was probably not the best. Whereas Fourie du Preez, that is one of his greatest assets, is that he's very tactically astute, and he understands how to execute a game plan to perfection.
Yeah. Okay, JK, well, our time is up. You've got to jump on a plane. And thanks for talking to us. Thanks for confirming, I think, what most people thought, were the right types of situations, except for that one Welsh try. Would that have...
Blade, sorry, just very quickly, just two other points.
Yeah.
The yellow card for Flip van der Merwe.
Yeah.
If he did intentionally play the player in the air, if he did take his foot and unbalance him, I don't have a problem with the referee's decision because he knew exactly what he was doing. And then the last decision, people have asked me, should that have been a yellow card? And some people even said a red card for this poor bloke that executed this last tackle. The referee should give him a yellow card, but certainly, the red card is just a ludicrous suggestion. It was like we correctly said, it was in the old days it would have been lauded.
Well, it would have been lauded, and I think it was a spur of the moment sort of thing. It wasn't like the guy sort of thought, right, I'm going to take this guy out without using my hands. I think it was so fast, and I think the guy expected his fellow player to maybe tackle Cornell, and then was called upon to defend within a metre and a half. And that's all he could basically do. He couldn't get his arms out. So, we talked about malicious. I don't think there was anything malicious at all. He was just
not at all.
Trying his very best.
The referees generally give yellow cards when accompanying a penalty try. We're encouraged to do that as referees, but certainly not a red card.
Okay. Thanks, JK. Have a good, have a fantastic week. And fly safely. Where are you flying to?
I've got a little road show in Durban, Cape Town, and PE this week, and I'm on my way to Durban now.
Okay, enjoy. Good luck.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Balls.co.za. Balls.co.za.